Welcome to the Cardboard Crash Course. This is episode 2 of the Crash Cast. I'm your host, Ethan. I'm sitting here with Christos. Why don't you say hi?
How's it going, everyone?
This episode is going to be called Project Booster Failure. I don't know if that's too unique, but we're going to be talking a little bit about the FIRE philosophy, Project Booster Fun. We might get into some Magic 30th Edition, but we've got a little bit of a unique perspective here in Christos because he was out of the game right before this whole Project Booster Fun thing happened, and he just recently started playing again. So before we get into it, I do want to say that name is pending a little bit. Crashcast is what we've come up with at the time, but if you absolutely hate it, please leave that in the comments. Please let me know. We've got a Discord that you can join from cardboardcrashcourse.com. You can find everything you need about the show right there. But go ahead and jump in and tell us that's a horrible name if you hate it, because...
or give us recommendations.
Yeah. Any recommendations are perfectly acceptable.
Yeah. At this point, I don't think it's set in stone, but it is what we're going with. So if you guys love it, great. If not, tell us, please.
And this is a more refined intro or episode. The intro was more just us. I think we ended up calling it the Fellowship of Cardboard because it was just us chatting.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very focused episode. We're going to be talking about a very specific niche. If you want to see other specific episodes about those niches, go ahead and recommend those as well. We love talking about what you love talking about. So without further ado, why don't I just go ahead and start explaining what's happening in Magic lately?
Sure.
So I want to ask, before we begin,
Okay.
when did you stop playing? And more importantly, why? And then I also want to see, what sort of things do you think have changed since you've been gone, based only on the games we've played? So go ahead and maybe give your life story here a little bit.
All right. So I said it in the last episode, or I guess in the intro episode, that I bought my first packs in original Ravnica block. I think my first pack ever was Dissension, and I didn't really get into Standard until around 10th edition, and then I started drafting and playing Sealed and those sorts of sets, doing pre-releases, stuff like that, a lot, multiple times a week if I could. So I pretty much played Standard as a format with all the new sets, with the block format, everything, all the way up until around Kaladesh, where I just started getting kind of fatigued because we moved away from block sets because we were in cons, and then we switched to 2 block sets, and then core sets were removed. So everything just started changing. And I feel like that's where Magic started having its initial, I don't want to say nosedive, but it definitely was a left turn into obscurity because we were so comfortable for so many years in this block format.
And that was, if I remember correctly, that was Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. That was right after they got rid of core sets and did Origins instead.
Yeah, and then and everyone loved Origins at the time, but people were still what the heck? Core sets are it's a nice break in between the blocks, because you would get you have all cons, and in between cons, I think it was M15 between cons and the next set. I don't quite remember, but it was a nice break between Theros and cons where you have a core set to just kind of reset in terms of the story and mechanics, and it also infuses cards that are just core to Standard. When you're able to play with all of Theros, all of cons, and a core set, that core set's a good starting point for new players to go to find what they like. So I recall pretty often during that time that I would meet people that are just getting into Magic, or I was going to college, so I would be everyone was oh, what are you doing there? I'm we're playing Magic. And then to get them into the game, I'd be oh, let's buy you a dual deck. It's $20. There's 2 decks. You can keep both of them, but you can play with the deck 5 times, and then we could swap decks, and then you play the other deck 5 times. And then you can kind of understand just playing those dual decks, what you like to do, or even if it's the game for you. It's a very easy intro thing, in my opinion, at the time, to get other people into Magic. But the reason I stopped playing toward that sort of 2-core set era, because I played a little bit in Kaladesh. I dipped my toes in Amonkhet, and I believe Eldritch Moon and that sort of period. When was the last two core set? I don't quite remember. But anyways,
The last 2 core sets?
yeah. Though there was the last little 2-core block or 2-set block.
Yeah, it was Rise of the Eldrazi, Eldritch Moon, and then it was Aether Revolt, Kaladesh, and then I forget exactly.
But
it was around that time.
It was during that period, and I remember seeing the spoilers for M20.
Okay.
And going through them and being like, okay, we're back in core set worlds. I'm happy they brought them back. So, like, again, it's a really good place for people to start.
Sure.
They're like Magic Journey, in my opinion. And I remember drafting M20 once or twice and doing the sealed event, and just like I kind of just felt fatigued. And that might not have anything to do with the core sets necessarily, but I did feel fatigued. And then when I saw the spoilers for Throne of Eldraine, I was like, this game is taking a hard turn into some power creep, because Throne of Eldraine just seemed absolutely bonkers. Mm-hmm. So what I thought initially was I was just going to take a little bit of a break. Just a short break, because I was like, I was the type of person where I would buy like a half a case for a box every set, because I liked having 4 of every card from every new set, because I was really heavy into going to tournaments and doing whatever I could to like be prepared to build any deck at any time, because I wanted to stay competitive. But I don't know. At the time, it felt like power creep was creeping in, and because of that, I took a step back. And I ended up taking a step back for almost 4 or 5 years. So now being back, I guess you could talk more about what's going on now, because things have changed completely. Even from like the little things I see here and there from your guys' decks while we play Commander, I'm like, what does that card do? That card has like way too much text on it. How did it, or something like that?
Yeah. So you've probably noticed a sharp change in not just card design, but like art design as well. Just so many different versions of different cards compared to what it used to be. So what you're talking about is you're leaving right before Eldraine when spoiler season was coming out. That's exactly where I'm going to start today, because I want you to tell me, with just the games that you've played with us, and for those of you listening, it's notably Commander, casual Commander at that. We don't play too much CEDH, although each of us have a deck that can push into that territory. How much do you know about the, first of all, fire philosophy, and second of all, Project Booster Fun, just from the games you've played?
So I know almost nothing about fire philosophy. I've never heard that before, but Project Booster Fun, you guys have mentioned it here and there, and while it's a ridiculous name, I know very little about it other than just like seeing like artwork that is a little different for certain cards, like Adam's Nekusar is like an etched version of Nekusar, and I just don't really recognize that style of foiling. And I think he was like, oh, they just started doing this like probably like right around when you left. Like,
so Commander Legends was the first set
that did etched,
and if I remember correctly, it was it Obosh? It was some kind of dragon that they showed off being the first like etched foil. And then they've kept it to specifically like how each set has a different foiling. Commander is etched. Like that's their thing.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So you've just kind of noticed a little bit of a change in like how cards look, but you don't know too much after that.
Some artwork, some foilings, but nothing crazy. I mean,
okay.
You guys don't really play foils now, it seems like. So like back in the day, like foiling out a deck was like a goal.
Yeah. I'm coming from a place where I don't like foils anymore. They're very poor quality. They're curled. You can barely see the artwork. I like many different versions of cards, but foiling it ruins it at this point just because the quality's dipped. At least in my opinion. So I want to start it with June 21st, 2019. So you're saying that you stopped playing right before Throne of Eldraine. That would have been 2019. The very first spoilers announcing Throne of Eldraine happened in July of 2019. So this is 1 month before.
Yeah.
This is an article by a Abro. It's ABRO. His tag is Merc Lurker. Is just a Wizards of the Coast employee. Hasn't made too many articles since then. Just kind of explaining Fire It Up is the title of this. And FIRE being an acronym. It's the FIRE philosophy. So he explains, and be patient with me, viewers, as I sort of read this word for word so we can get an understanding of it. This is right after the War of the Spark set design article. This led, War of the Spark being that, to the refinement of our core goals of R&D and the generation of FIRE. FIRE is an acronym that holds the tenets of our new philosophy going forward as per the new set. It translates differently for the original design, play design, and creative teams. This is what it means to me as a play designer. F is for fun. Above all else, our game should be fun to play. We strive to make cards that are fun for a wide variety of audiences. And if you're reading this article along with me, I am abridging it slightly, just to get the general idea. I is for inviting. Our game should be accessible to many people. From play design's perspective, that means formats should be accessible to newer or less enfranchised players. It also means that a wide variety of strategies should be viable in all types of play. R is for replayability. The key aspects of replayability are balance and diversity. We want to get a wide variety of decks and strategies to about the right power level. All of it's making sense so far.
Sure, yeah.
E is for exciting. This is where people take a turn towards booster fun here. Players should be excited to read cards and play with them. We want to design and cost cards so that they can inspire cool new decks and archetypes for players to build their own. One of the major ships that came out of FIRE discussions is how we design commons. Starting with War of the Spark, we pushed to make commons exciting. Here are 2 new commons, and he shows Cloudkin Seer and Murder, 2 staples nowadays. So that was the first time they were really pushing commons into staple. Cloudkin Seer not so much anymore, but Murder for sure. And then Raising the Floor. This is a separate part of the same article. There's a chance to get tapped dual lands in the basic land slot. This is also true for M20. And he goes on to explain how even the lowest commons are getting more exciting. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on that before we move on, because people don't have too much of an issue with this, but they see it as sort of the stepping point, the pivot point towards something different.
Yeah, so I mean, on paper, everything that you just said, even all the letters, whatever, I don't think that is a big shock. WotC's always kind of been that way. They've always said they wanted to be accessible to many different people, be inviting, and make the game exciting for all sorts of players, from kitchen table Magic to the Pro Tour. You know, did he really say that Murder was a staple, or did you say that?
No, I said that. I said that it's a staple, in the limited and the form, the constructed formats at the time.
Okay. At the time.
Since then, it's been power crept to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but Murder was probably the most basic kill spell.
Sure.
That I can think of.
Okay.
But not to say it's not a staple, but it was if a new player's getting into Magic, they're like, oh, Murder's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I can kill something with this card. That's good. And then it changes and whatnot, but
yeah, I'm talking more about limited play.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, and that was just kind of his first. These are slightly more exciting comments. Again, this article is. I'm not trying to call it out. He's very much just explaining his design philosophy and the design philosophy of Wizards behind the scenes. But it came out 3 weeks before the next article, which is going to be what we talk about for the majority of this podcast. So I think all of that on paper sounds realistic.
Yeah. The FIRE philosophy, as you wrote it here, it's not bad. It's more or less what I expect from WotC. You know, I would say
just kind of putting it on paper.
Yeah, okay, cool. If that I already expect that from you, but if you're going to come out and say that, then good. Mm-hmm. So how did it? What happened?
So at July 21st, 2019. So actually, almost exactly a month later, we have an article by Mark Rosewater, Project Booster Fun, and this is where he starts it off by saying, I'm going to be covering a lot of information, so I'm going to start by walking you through what this article is going to contain. And it's a very long article, so I'm going to bridge so much of this. But go ahead and go to the Magic the Gathering website. It's right on Wizards, magic.wizards.com under Project Booster Fun.
We'll link it in the description as well.
We'll link it in the description so you can read along. I'm only trying to abridge it for the sake of brevity. I'm not trying to remove information to change it. You said you don't know too much about this.
No, not at all, really, to be honest.
So he goes off to say, Part 1, the October set. For those of you who follow me, you'll know that I'll be pretty pumped about this set. The October set is, and he announces that it's called Throne of Eldraine. He shows about what it's going to be. It's a very bold design. Everyone has stepped to make a truly memorable Magic set. That is true. I would say that Throne of Eldraine is very memorable, like in terms of art, in terms of game philosophy, and in terms of power too.
Yeah, it's crazy that I remember being, it's very impressionable, right? I remember being like, oh, they're doing like a fairy tale set.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird, but like also unique after like so many years of like Greece, right, and Theros, and then we went to India and Kaladesh and Egypt and Amonkhet. We kind of did like these like very basic like ideas, right? Mm-hmm. And then not to say that this isn't basic, but like something that I've never done before. I was like expecting us like, oh, where are we going next? Like, are we going back to Kamigawa or what? But they ended up
going somewhere new.
Yeah,
which was exciting at the time.
Yeah.
Right there, part 2, why we're doing something new. So it's kind of interesting because now I feel like Eldraine has kind of been made a little bit less special. I know people loved Wilds of Eldraine as well. It is a very unique design. Now thinking back, we did have Lorwyn, which was kind of fairy tale-ish. It was kind of more mystical.
Sure. Yeah.
But this is definitely like direct rip on fairy tales and all of that. So I'm kind of going to skip over the whole Lorwyn, or the whole Eldraine part of it, rather, and go directly towards the middle of part 2. We formed a project team to figure out what amazing things we could do with card treatments. The investigation was called Project Booster Fun. The team spent a lot of time experimenting with different frame and art options, some of which you might already be aware of because we've used them in various ways, although never in booster packs. I'm going to get 3 new card treatments that we're going to be introducing with Throne of Eldraine, but before I get to that, there was one other discovery the team made. It turns out there was a surprise element we were already doing that was exciting some players and making opening booster packs fun: foil cards. As part of the Project Booster Fun initiative, we decided to raise the frequency of foils. Previously, the foil drop rate, counting all foils of all rarities, was 1 in 67, which results in a 22% chance of opening one in any booster. The new drop rate is 1 in 45, or a third chance to open one in any booster. This means the chance of getting a foil is increased from less than 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 exactly. As this was a change we could make with the existing system, we didn't bother waiting for Throne of Eldraine. You'll find new foil drop rates starting with Core Set 20. So first of all, I kind of want to talk about that for a second. First of all, they were so excited to get this out and make foils more... Mm-hmm. I'm trying not to be negative and say less special, but how about more frequent? Because the less special thing is sort of happening nowadays. But they became more frequent as per you already playing, like M20. But he goes on to say, beginning with Throne of Eldraine, there are going to be 3 new treatments of cards you'll be able to open in booster packs. Let me walk you through them. First of all, Borderless Planeswalkers. We use this treatment in 3 Mythic editions. Starting with Throne of Eldraine, certain booster packs will include Borderless Planeswalkers. The set will still have normal Planeswalkers. Note that while the rules text is identical, the Border Planeswalkers have different art from the normal Planeswalker cards.
Like different completely?
Yes.
Like a whole separate
art.
Oh, interesting.
So Borderless is always different art. Then he goes on to explain extended art frames. Next up, extended art frames. This is where we take the art on a card and run it all the way to the edge. This was the treatment we used on the box toppers for Ultimate Masters. Starting with Throne of Eldraine, some rare and mythics will have the extended art frame in the boosters themselves.
Yeah, because in Ultimate Masters it was that dragon, it's for the dragon from Innistrad. It was like Borderless, the red one. I don't remember the name of it.
But it's not random like a booster pack.
It was just a box topper.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they've done special variants since a long time, but it's always been like the box topper, and they've even made some misses in terms of which creatures and everything. Like, they're not that great of cards, but they give them a treatment. And like they said, they did it with like Ultimate Masters and everything, but now they're moving it into booster packs. Third is showcase frames, and this I think is the biggest
step in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Well, step in a direction for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This last treatment is not actually one treatment, but a catch-all term to cover a variety of different treatments. Here's what a showcase art will be. For each set, we're going to come up with 1 or more cool treatments that embody the spirit of the set. For example, let's discuss Throne of Eldraine. This is a new mechanic but I'm going to show you the new frame that will accompany the mechanic. And he shows a sort of blank adventure card.
Okay.
And so that's the regular frame I'm showing Christos right now, and that is the showcase frame of it.
Okay, so it's like a little more like fairy tale-y looking.
Yes.
But it's the same idea.
Same idea. The art and frame will be a new stylized version. All 3 treatments I mentioned above will exist in foil versions as well. I'll get to the nitty-gritty in the section 3, but the shorthand is this. If a kind of booster pack has the possibility of the non-foil version, it will also have the possibility of a foil version.
So it's almost like how they did expeditions in Battle for Zendikar or Masterpieces in Kaladesh, but instead of them being like super ultra rare, they come in every pack.
Yes.
Oh. So I feel like that kind of diminishes like the collectors, like, or not maybe discouraging.
So one thing I do want to say is it's not explained in this article, but different kinds of versions of cards have different rarity drops.
Okay.
But that changes every set.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is not the end of the article. However,
I was gonna say, is this just the basic idea to change it again, or is it?
This is the basic idea. They haven't really changed it since, but it's become so overwhelming because every set has a different number of,
showcases or what have you.
The even bigger issue, in terms of what I've seen on our community, this is our community. This is you guys listening. I know we don't talk for everybody who's a Magic fan. Definitely some people enjoy this, and more power to you. But the bigger issue that people in our community are taking with this is that he also goes on to explain booster packs, not just the cards within them. So Magic has by taking a step back and rethinking our booster packs, Magic has only ever offered one type of booster pack. While that booster pack might serve many players' needs, it doesn't necessarily serve them all. What if we gave players an option for the kind of booster pack they could choose? Starting with Throne of Eldraine, players are going to have 3 choices. First of all is a draft booster. This is the booster the one Magic had for 26 years. The only change we're making it to it is giving it a name. We're referring it to the draft booster instead of just a booster pack. It's a booster intended for drafting. The card makeup for it is not changing, although it will have the borderless planeswalkers and showcase cards within it. Then they have theme boosters. This is a booster aimed at players who either prioritize getting lots of cards or prefer to have more cards of the kinds that they're opening. So essentially they would have a black theme booster, a white theme booster. Later on they started doing things like a specific creature type theme booster. This was a very short-lived thing.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah. They also had really, really poor drop rates.
For high rarities? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
They always had a certain amount, but it was poor for like the really good ones.
Okay.
And then they showed off collector boosters. It's aimed at the player who values collecting the cards. Our expectations for these collector boosters will range between $20 to $25 a booster, US dollars.
Oh.
Yeah, so they, right off the bat, were like, the cards within these are worth $20 to $25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
it's not being secretive at all about it.
Yeah, they kind of acknowledged the aftermarket there, which is not something they did very often back in the day.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's designed to be the best value if you're prioritizing collecting hard-to-find cards.
Okay.
You'll see how they get around that, the aftermarket. It's the best value if you want the nice cards, right? So people know what they're talking about, but they're kind of skirting around it. Like the theme booster, the collector boosters came about because we realized the draft booster was only serving a certain segment.
Interesting.
What if we made a booster that maximized opening new and different things each time? It would also be a place where you had the best chance of opening foils and new variants. So he goes on to explain more about it. It's only being printed in English and Japanese, unlike all languages for the drafts. So part 3, the Throne of Eldraine will have a draft booster, 5 different theme boosters, and a collector booster. So he goes on to explain the drop rates and everything, but I'm not going to talk numbers in this video. You also have your Planeswalker decks, your bundles, your promo packs, things like that. Those are something people never really had an issue with. Mm-hmm. But then the next set, I'm going to kind of lump these 2 articles together. 1 year later, July 25th, 2020, Mark Rosewater comes out with a new article called Set Boosters. And he explains set boosters. For example, he talks about R&D's thinking. And basically they're deleting theme boosters from their like every set. And he asked the question, are there different types of boosters we could make that would excite a different audience than our normal draft booster is aimed at? The first booster, coming from this line of thinking, was the theme, blah, blah, blah. It goes on to say that it maybe wasn't as successful as they thought. But set boosters are basically a step in between, where you don't care about drafting, but you also don't want to spend $25 on a booster pack. You just want some random cards from the set.
With no rarities, or like how?
No, it's still a structured rarity structure.
Okay.
So it has 14 cards total, but only 12 are actual Magic cards. One's a new art card, and one's a token or an ad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not terribly different.
No, it's not terribly different. Let me just read his closing statement on these. That's all we have time for today. I hope you're excited about set boosters, and we'll check them out when Zendikar Rising releases in September. If you have thoughts on the set booster, I would love to hear them. Until then, may opening Magic boosters be as fun as playing the game. I kind of combined those two articles because that's where we are now. We've got draft boosters, we've got set boosters, and we've got collector boosters for almost every set. The first set to have anything but the 3 is going to be the Doctor Who Commander deck set, where they're only doing the Commander decks, kind of like Warhammer, which I've explained to you in the past.
Yeah.
And, but they're also going to have collector boosters for that, but none of the others. That was a whole word dump. That was me basically reading a whole book to the audience here. Now, while I take a drink of water, I want you to sort of dump your thoughts on me.
I kind of already, at the beginning of this podcast, I kind of spoke about like how like I was a big drafter and big into sealed and all that. And this kind of seems a little strange to me because drafting was a big part of Magic in like the 2010s.
Yeah.
I remember I could go to any LGS at any given night and we could probably fire a draft off if we have enough people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is kind of pushing people away from limited in terms of like, it gives us the same amount of variance. Like you could still draft. There's draft booster packs, right? So you can draft still, but I feel like this is like they're almost like targeting whales with like the collector packs, and like and then the booster packs just seem kind of useless in theory.
So you can still have good pulls in a draft booster, but it's like how it used to be. Because they still have to do limited.
Sure, yeah.
So you can't have like insane pulls for powerful new staples in like the draft boosters every single pack because you don't want to ruin limited. But the idea is that you could have some in almost every pack for a set booster.
Okay.
Because that's why people are buying them in the first place.
So I guess this whole project is really, in theory, to me, it's like, hey, collectors, we have a pack specifically for you. Mm-hmm. Buy that pack, collect them all, whatever.
Yeah.
And then for the draft sets, I feel like it's kind of needless to come out with all these different rarities and different foilings and different what have yous. Like I feel like that, like back in the day, like I was saying before, like foiling out a deck was like a goal because it was difficult to collect them, right? Because they were lower drop rate. Especially if you're trying to foil out like a whole standard deck, that's a very difficult task.
Right.
Especially if you're only buying packs, you're likely never going to do that. So like now, I'm sure foils probably mean a lot less in terms of like pull rates and stuff because you guys probably pull a foil in every pack.
The idea originally was a foil in every 33%.
Yeah, so every 3 packs.
I don't know if that's still the case. It feels like more nowadays. I don't know if that's just because people are opening, mass box opening a lot around me or why, but I feel like foils are even higher than that. I don't have the numbers for that, though. It's at least 1 in every 3, because they definitely have not decreased it since then.
Interesting. That kind of feels like that takes the value away from foiling. But foiling already, even toward the end of where I stopped playing, foils started becoming less quality. They started, like you said before, they started curling. Even like the ones that came out of the box, like I remember I had bought a Commander product. I bought the red Commander Planeswalker Daretti. I bought the Daretti box, and out of the box he was curled like completely, and I was like, what the heck? Because when you buy a sealed product, you expect everything to be good in it, but it looked like it had been like sitting in like in water and then left out to dry in the sun. So I'm not. I even toward the end of my run there, where I was like going really hard in Magic, foiling started becoming like less quality. And now, from what you said earlier, foiling is like terrible now. Like there could be like they could be printing them and they look awful,
right?
Because like I don't know if it's like a quality assurance thing or what have you. But,
and a lot of people have actually have figured out, and I know this is not a completely new thing, but the American and I believe the Denmark printers are very, very poor. Whereas if you get a set that's printed, because they print so many sets nowadays that they switch between printers in terms of like different countries. Makes enough sense, but the Japanese printers are like so many leagues above those. Now, Wilds of Eldraine was a Japanese printed set.
Entirely.
Almost in its entirety. There's some products in it, but if you're looking at collector boosters, almost in its entirety was a Japanese printed set.
Okay.
And so you're looking at those foils, they're not quite as poor, but they still are a little bit harder to see and everything than they used to be.
Yeah, because I even when I was like doing research to buy newer cards for like to update my old decks, right? When I started playing with you guys again in Commander, I bought like a Kagla and Yidaro, right? And that foil is like the artwork is completely black, more or less. And just so you can see it on screen, it's like you can't even see the face of either of the creatures on the
yeah,
card.
if you're on YouTube, go ahead and check the screen because it's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's a really good card in my eyes in terms of just like being flexible. But yeah, when I remember when I got it in the mail and I opened it and I was like, is this the artwork? Because like I'm a big fan of foiling because I come from that era where like foiling out a deck meant something. It meant like when I foiled out my Modern deck when I was playing Burn in Modern.
Yeah,
I did it because I love playing Burn, right? And foiling it out it meant something. Okay, you're foiling it out because like you are the Burn guy, right? Or you're the Tron guy or whatever in Modern. And now I feel like kind of like what you and Adam always talk about with like how like foils are so low quality. Like I would never throw them in a deck unless like I was absolutely in love with the artwork. And I kind of want to actually I had a thought about this earlier. Now that they do like these showcases,
yeah,
and the different variants of like borderless, extended art, and all of them come in foil, right? So
yeah.
So and those are what replaces the chases like that I was talking about before with the expeditions, the masterpieces, and such.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, are those cards worth anything?
So that's another point I want to make. They are worth much less now.
Okay.
So your like Zendikar expeditions definitely have decreased in value. They're not worth 0. They're probably not sub 100, but some of them are sitting about that 150 mark, which is probably about half of what it was at its peak, which is could be a lot of different factors too. That's also the reprint issues that's been going on lately of just the very heavy reprints for powerful cards. But that could be a plethora of different things. But I did want to say, at some point, they started doing expedition level rarity chase cards again.
Okay. Well, in addition to all of this.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, so what used to be the expedition chase, what was it from Kaladesh? The Inventions? Masterpieces.
Yeah.
And then there was one Invocations
from Amonkhet.
From Amonkhet. So, Invocation frame, Masterpiece frame, and all of those frames have now become normal showcases. So those frames don't look quite as unique. The cards are still technically rare, but they're now doing serialized cards in some sets, like baseball cards.
Oh, like where they have like a stamp?
Yes.
Like a number stamp?
Like a number stamp out of a certain amount. So you heard about the One Ring.
Yeah, I saw like Post Malone bought it or something like that.
Yeah, so the One Ring was a serialized 1 of 1. That's the only time they've done it so far. But they had serialized cards in things like, I don't even want to get into bonus sheets right now, but there was some artifacts in like the Brothers' War that were serialized, so you only could have that art in so many different, like out of 500, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty low. In The Lord of the Rings, there was not just the 1 of 1, but there was so many different serialized cards that had its special, unique art or foiling to them.
And this is what replaces those expeditions, like the chasing of like.
Yeah, what's unique about them is that they actually tell you how many of them are out there. So this is a baseball card thing.
This is just for collectors then.
Yeah.
But you can only open them, I'm assuming, in the collector's boosters.
That's correct.
Oh.
Yes, so you can only open them in the boosters.
Ooh.
They value at $20 to $25.
That's an interesting conversation to have, because back in the day, like I think I may have told you, I was opening up like a pack of Kaladesh when I was like drafting back in the day, and like you can open a masterpiece when you're drafting,
right?
And that feeling is amazing, because you're like, well, I made my money back and then some, and then like you get to play, you sell those cards, play those cards. Same with expeditions and what have you. But now they've reserved that completely to the expensive booster pack, so that experience is like completely taken away from a player that's maybe can't afford those packs or only drafts or what have you.
Right. I want to kind of say, though, that's not completely a bad thing, because if you are charging somebody $25 for a booster pack, there better be something unique in them. My question isn't really like, should we have higher value things in the higher value products? It's more like, should those higher value products even need to exist?
You know, speaking as somebody that's an old head with this game, and when I stopped playing, there were not 3 different boxes for boosters. Right. There was just the one. I really thought that way was fine. I think they could have just adjusted maybe the drop rate on those collectors things and then just kept them in the packs. Because to your average player, those average players, they get super hyped about pulling something when, like, especially if they're a new player. Like, imagine you're a new player and you pull like a chase foil of a card or something like that. That's a really good feeling. It's going to keep that player more likely and excited about the game, and they're going to continue to invest in the game, buy those booster packs, etc. I feel like with this new system, it's pretty much almost like discouraging people from buying packs, because people were already pretty discouraged back in the day from buying packs outside of drafting.
Right. But now you can only draft with one of the 3 different types of packs.
So ever since I got back into the game, I'll talk about this now a little bit. I've tried to find stores around me that do draft events. I cannot find one, and I'm a pretty active player. I'm known like at most of the stores. Like when I walk in, they remember me, even though I haven't been playing for years. Because I used to go everywhere around this area.
Like multiple times a week, you said.
Yeah, like literally, like I had days where I would draft like weeks that I would draft every day of the week.
Yeah.
If I could, and because I would be willing to drive an hour north just to go to a place with my buddies and draft, because it is like an experience like no other. And I think now, because just to speak a little more on what I was saying, like now that I can't even find a place to draft, I feel like it kind of speaks to like, if this is Project Booster fun, I feel like it's only fun for the collectors. Maybe if you or maybe if you are, you know, if you're a kid and you want to buy a collector's pack, then you might have some fun. But like buying a draft booster pack and opening it and pulling nothing, if it's going to feel bad.
Right. So the idea is that if you're just walking into a store and you want, you know, you're a little kid, you want your mom to buy just a single pack for you to open and have fun. The idea is that would be a set pack. Why do they need to be separate? Is my question. Like, why can't we just have the booster? And this is a conversation that I wanted to kind of extend into, because I don't want to just sit here and reminisce about the old days and go, I wish those were back. That's not happening. I think we both can agree that we can't go back to just having $4 booster packs only. I mean, just simply saying Magic or Hasbro as a company, Wizards of the Coast as a company, can't afford to just drop the $25 booster. That doesn't make any sense. My question is, and I want to sort of ask this of you, could we just combine set and draft packs again, and then just have the booster pack and the collector pack, so that you could walk into a store, randomly buy one booster pack, and use that, and kind of like average out the power level of what you can find in a draft pack versus a set pack, but then still have the collector pack for the whales? Do you think that's reasonable, or do you have a different idea of how to fix this? Because I think the better conversation isn't, and this has been talked to death, isn't how bad this is. I think the better conversation is what would be our ideas to sort of remedy this without ruining Wizards as a company.
In some ways, so the reason that I spoke on like why I can't find drafting anymore. I think stores don't even carry draft boosters anymore. When I go there, I don't see a lot of stores like the store near us. They have like nothing in terms of like
Right.
that. I feel like when I started playing again, like right when Lord of the Rings came out,
Okay.
and the store that we go to, they only had collector's boosters when I saw them.
And set boosters.
And I didn't see any draft boosters in there.
Right.
And I was under the impression that, oh, okay, this is like a collector's item and a set booster item, kind of like what you just explained, where like that would be like a more
draftable.
more ideal world, right? Like the draft boosters don't need to exist because it doesn't service anything other than drafting or playing limited.
Mm-hmm. So that's why at the cardboardcrashcourse.com, to plug a second, we do have sealed product alongside the singles that we sell. I don't sell single draft packs. I don't know if you've noticed.
They wouldn't sell.
They wouldn't sell.
Yeah.
I sell set packs and I sell collector packs and I sell draft boxes. But I don't sell draft packs. There's no reason really to buy a draft pack on its own. It might be in some sets, it might average out to about 50 cents to maybe 75 cents lower than a set pack. So that might be a slightly better entry, but I don't think that big of a change really matters to the average parent or just player wanting to just get a fun experience.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk too much financially in terms of like
Sure,
that,
yeah.
but I don't want to say 50 cents really would change the overall idea, and that's usually how much it about comes out to.
I guess the question that keeps like kind of revolving in my head about this is why did they separate them in the first place when there really isn't much of a difference between set booster and draft booster other than like what they forced into one and took away from another.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like is irrelevant to do such a thing. So I would agree with you. I feel like they combine those two and just go kind of back to the way it was when I was playing, where like you just draft the set and like there's just a set booster, and then the collector's boosters is for like those people that are like they're chasing like the weird variants of cards, the showcases or what have you.
So you think those should still exist? There's not really a logical way of getting rid of them.
Well, at this point, I feel like they're so ingrained in the because I've been gone for years now, and they've been ever since I stopped. They're in every set, right? So
yeah,
if they're gonna make like every rare in a set, borderless foil showcase, whatever acronym you want to put there, or adjective, whatever, then yeah, we can't get rid of them because they're in the game already. It's like the same idea with like when they did like full art lands. Like once they started doing full art lands, you don't stop doing full art lands. You putting. That's why they up the frequency of them, right? So like we originally had them in like the unsets and then Zendikar block originally.
Yeah.
Then,
now they're in. If my memory serves me right, they are in every standard release set since Zendikar Rising. So sometimes you'll have sets where they don't have them because it's a remastered set or whatever for an original block.
they do that now too.
Yeah, so now so there's a lot that we have to cover. But yeah, so have you heard of there's Dominaria Remastered? They did Time Spiral Remastered before that. So it's one set that's remastering a whole block.
Like reprinting everything from it?
No. Taking specific cards, making a draftable experience.
Oh, interesting.
But they also have set and collector boosters.
Well, Time Spiral was pretty cool.
Time Spiral actually was a very unique one because that came out... That did not have collector boosters. It came out in 2020, and it was very short printed, which means like no one could get their hands on it at the time.
Oh, during COVID and everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure LGSs were, most of them were probably closed.
Yeah. So Time Spiral Remastered, I feel like did pretty well. Then they did Dominaria Remastered. Forgive me if I'm skipping one. No. Then they're doing Ravnica Remastered, and they just started spoiling on that.
Original Ravnica?
All of Ravnica.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
Yeah. So it's a draftable set, but with 3 different like packs. So they've started to show off anime versions of characters from all of Ravnica.
Okay.
That are only available in set and collector boosters, but not in draft.
Oh, so they're even doing the split in that set, or in Ravnica Remastered, they're doing collectors, set, and draft boosters.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
they're like pretty set in stone with this. Like they're not moving away from it, huh?
I I also was thinking, I feel like, and I don't have any inside information into all of this, but I have a feeling they're very confident on collector boosters, because they showed up in that first Project Booster Fund article. It goes, these are the new most exciting boosters. They're $20 to $25. They're here to stay. It shows you the most unique items. Eventually started having, special foilings and serialized cards and all of this in them. I feel like collector boosters are here to stay. They're very confident on them. But they came out with theme and draft boosters, and the theme boosters have kind of been faded out and faded in as set. Feel like they're not as confident in the difference between draft and set boosters as they are with having collector boosters, if that makes sense. They're not as confident with set boosters needing to exist. Is my sort of like idea.
Even from the little I know that you've told me so far in this conversation, right? Set boosters seem like they're kind of useless. Like they don't need to exist because, and knowing that I can't go right now at any given day of the week and go to an LGS and fire up a draft with like a bunch of my friends.
Yeah.
That to me, if that's like a worldwide like a nationwide, whatever it may be, issue, like if you guys are having the same experience, like leave us a comment or something. But like,
can you find draft events not just pre-release, because I think pre-release will always exist.
I hope so. Those are I had some of the most fun playing.
I hope
the most fun playing Magic, I think, is playing limited, because it takes away the power. It takes away the like. And you're forced to kind of use your brain to make something out of nothing, and that is like the most pure form of this. Like it turns it almost into like you're cracking open a board game basically and playing it for the first time.
Yeah,
it feels incredible.
It definitely is a ton of fun, and I want everybody who's listening to this. When was the last time you had a draft event that wasn't a pre-release? Period.
Yeah,
boom, right? I feel like I just dropped like a bomb.
Yeah,
but
I'd be really hard pressed to say that the set booster needs to exist. I feel like, in my eyes, if they combine the two and just kind of revert back to the way things were or was, or even maybe like throw them a bone or something, like give us a chase card that it exists in the collectors and like one in every like 20 packs or something. I don't know, something to give us a reason to buy boxes, because I back in the day I used to buy like a half case, right? Like what I said before, right?
Yeah.
When I was playing Standard, especially like during like Theros and Cons, those blocks, I would buy 3 boxes of every set, and just because I wanted all the cards,
right?
And I wanted to be guaranteed, basically more or less, to like find the juicers and all and on every box. And now I feel like if I bought a set booster and I was like looking for like a normal foil of a card, I probably would have like a better likelihood to just buy or to get that card buying a collector's instead.
So there even are some situations to where like not just versions of cards are better because a lot of the time you can find these cards in draft boosters, but they're very, very, very low quantity. Like you can find a Ragavan from multi or I won't even make it complicated. You can find Ragavan from March of the Machine in the draft booster.
But it's very low.
It's very, very low, and it's not the most flashy variant of it. You can find, all these cards in draft boosters in lower quantity, until that wasn't the case anymore. So for just one example, in Brothers War, they had Transformers cards.
Oh.
Like actual and I've explained Universes Beyond to you, and you've seen.
Yeah, I saw the Warhammer stuff and
actual Transformers,
Lord of the Rings. So like Optimus Prime and everybody, like the whole gang. Okay. Yep.
So Optimus Prime could only appear in set boosters, not in draft boosters.
Well, that's kind of lame.
And not only that, but Optimus Prime Shattered Glass, which was like his like showcase variant. Could only appear in collector boosters.
Oh, so draft boosters are like just useless.
Useless. In terms of like
collecting.
Yeah. And again, Magic the Gathering, I don't want to turn into simply just value. It matters.
Well, we have to speak on it because
I feel, but I do think that the value and the interest, Project Booster Fund makes sense in like its title. right?
Accessibility, etc. Like,
Accessibility,
yeah.
exciting packs for drafters, different showcase variants, sure. In execution, I feel like they're doing the opposite effect. And I think a lot of people have felt that way, where they're trying to make it more and more and more unique and special for every type of player. But in doing so, every type of player has the unique and special variants. The fact that they split these isn't servicing different levels of Magic players. It's separating them. Like, it itself is making collectors not want to draft. And it's making draft players not want to collect. Because they would have to spend this much more. If you sort of combine them together a little bit, made set boosters a little more valuable than they are right now, but made them draftable, and then deleted draft boosters, you might combine the community a little bit again.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It makes me think, I might go a little off track here, but it makes me think back to this the store I used to go to draft. And there's a guy that came in every week, and he would only draft, stay there and draft if we opened a new box.
Okay.
Because he thought about it as like a gamble, right? He's like, well, especially during
the whole seeding.
Right, yeah. He's like, okay, I'm like, if all of us get into this box, we all open packs, somebody's going to open like a big chase card or a big chase pack. Especially during...
I don't want to open a box that already has a pack missing because they open the best pack and then put all the shit.
Some paranoia gamblers.
The crappy ones back in there.
So I especially during the block or the set, I think it was Journey to Nyx, where you can open a god pack with all the gods in the pack.
Sure. I don't know if has that ever been proved to not be an accident.
No. They that was like WotC said. Like you have a chance to pull a pack that's all gods.
Okay.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
That idea. It's exciting. It makes me want to buy a box. Right. That's what it made me do. Unfortunately, that set's worth like pennies, but like to a collector, whatever. But the point is, I played with that guy, and he would only stay in draft if we opened a new box. If the store didn't have any new boxes, he left. Right. So like that's a collector, more or less my mentality, and he's also probably a gambler or what have you. He's just trying. He's just rolling the dice to see like what happens. Because like in draft, you have a higher likelihood of being passed a rare or being passed a card that like.
Because it doesn't fit with their deck.
Exactly, because you're drafting a deck, you're building something. So like that's why he said he only played draft and he doesn't play any other format because he's a collector. But so I think in that idea it kind of like combines like it gives collectors a place to play and also gives drafters are already there, and it could turn a drafter into a collector. And also most draft players take those cards that they draft and they play standard. So it kind of like is like a melting pot of like everything.
Yeah.
When you have a set booster, or I guess now a draft booster, where it would bring everybody together in that regard, because like it appeals to all players across the board. If you've never drafted in your life, and I go, hey Ethan, you want to draft? And you go, oh, what's that? Well, we're gonna draft like 3 packs of the standard set. But you're a standard player. Or you're like, sure, I'll open some standard packs, and you'll probably even rare draft because you're like, oh, I want this rare, But it is what it is. But like the point is like it appealed to everybody. Everybody wanted to come in and play.
Because like let's say we're doing Modern Horizons 2, which is something you missed out on, but it's a very powerful set. And if I wanted. I think that this has also promoted, and this should be a whole separate video. This has also promoted the purchase of singles over packs, even more than it used to be.
Oh,
People used to, that's always been a thing.
At least before you had like some reasoning to open a box.
It was more of a gamble.
You had more of a...
And you didn't have to spend $25 to get the best thing.
Right, yeah. Especially if you were a standard player. It was probably smarter to just buy a box sometimes, but sometimes it was smarter to just buy singles.
Yeah, but now it's like definitely smarter to buy singles. But if I did want to open packs for the fun of it, and that's still fun, there's still some fun to it. If I wanted Modern Horizons 2, and there's some elementals in there that I'd love for a modern deck, I have less incentive to draft. Like if you wanted to draft Modern Horizons 2, I'd be like, why? I could just open a set box and get what I want. You know what I mean? So like that's less incentive for me who wants to construct a powerful modern Magic deck, and you who wants to draft a set. That's less incentive for us to spend time together.
Do you think this has anything to do with COVID? And like the elimination of like in-person Magic. So I didn't play during that time period, so you may be able to speak on it better. But like in my mind, because of everything that was happening during all of 2020 and most of 2021, I can't imagine a lot of stores were having a lot of in-person tournaments, and if they were, I don't know if draft was like a high priority to them.
Around us, Friday Night Magic dwindled and died in some stores during COVID. I guess I'll just say one word to explain everything. Commander.
Yeah.
Commander is the new format. I think COVID did have an impact on all of this because it increased Commander's popularity. And the reason it did is because people didn't go to tournaments during the time. They instead just went over to somebody's house and played casually, right?
Oh, I see, yeah.
So I'm sure Commander was already on the rise. COVID is just one of many possibilities of factors. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure it didn't help in the destruction of, again, dwindling of standard, of limited, of... People still do play those, but people have realized in Commander, you don't have to buy 4 of this crazy expensive thing, right? You just put all your garbage together and make a deck. So WotC started catering specifically to Commander players over the last few years. And that can be a completely separate podcast episode. But I think this COVID definitely didn't help. It sort of just like threw gas on the fire in terms of it accelerated the problem. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that the difference between draft set collector and the addition of all these showcase borderless extended art frames needed to happen in 2019 any more than it needed to happen during COVID.
I guess the reason I asked it in the first place was because toward the end of my time playing in that time period of 2019, I think it was like an Ixalan when MTG Arena came out, right? And in MTG Arena, do these sorts of boosters and all these different sets of boosters, does that exist on Arena? Do you know? They don't.
It's just a booster pack on Arena. Well, there's 2 different booster packs on Arena. There's the regular booster pack and the Alchemy booster pack.
Oh, what's Alchemy?
It's an Arena exclusive format where they can digitally change cards.
Oh, to like balance them?
To rebalance cards, like Hearthstone.
Oh, okay. So like they make an oopsies. They're like, oh, that card doesn't need to have...
Yeah, like Wizard class has some... it's like a card from Adventure of the Forgotten Realms. In regular, standard, or whatever, or in Pioneer, it's still the same card. But in Alchemy or Alchemic nerfed. Historic, it's been nerfed.
I'm curious.
So in short, that's fine to me. I mean, give me the real cards or give me the change cards. 2 different booster packs. But in short, no, they only have the one type. Essentially.
Because I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, was this like something to prepare or to discourage people from buying packs in person and to push people to enter to Arena? Because like in my mind, in my tinfoil hat mind, in 2020 when COVID hit, I feel like it would have just pushed everyone toward Arena, standard players and everybody.
I'm probably going to disagree with that. I don't think that they would ever want to create a reason to discourage people from buying their physical cardboard.
Well, I mean, in my eyes, like as a company,
they have not put enough effort into Arena to make it seem like that's their biggest moneymaker.
Well, as a company, right, you don't have to print the cards on Arena.
Sure.
And they cost the same.
However, they don't cost the same because there's only the regular packs on Arena, which are a couple of dollars, versus the $20 to $25 packs that exist in person.
In my eyes, that kind of even like reinforces my argument because I feel like they're like, okay, don't buy anything in paper other than the collector stuff. Everything else, buy on Arena. They're like, build your digital collection. Mm-hmm. Like, go on there, buy that, because it costs the same to buy there than there. And I think now, because we opened a couple of packs at this tournament, me, Anthony, and Adam went to for Commander like a week or so ago. I opened a pack and there was like an Arena code for like a free something. I don't know what it was.
I want to say Arena's... I'm not scared of Arena from taking Magic players. I mean, look at Pokemon Live. Pokemon Live is Magic Arena, and there's a code in every single Pokemon booster pack, which Pokemon is a whole different conversation, but Pokemon still only has one type of booster pack. But in every single booster pack, there's a code for Pokemon Live to open a pack on there. And it still hasn't taken Pokemon players, like, in its entirety.
I guess I'm curious because I know I have drafted on Arena in the past.
Sure.
And I'm curious if that has made drafting in real life or discouraged drafting in real life at all. Because that, of course, this whole episode's about the packs and stuff, right? I'm just trying to find a reason for these packs to exist the way they exist when simultaneously when all this was happening.
Yeah.
They also were having Arena come out,
and they also were having Commander explode in popularity, which you don't really need packs for Commander.
You don't need the variants. You only need the collectors.
You only need the collectors, yeah, because you don't even need draft packs. There's been 3 draftable Commander sets.
Oh, they do that now too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Commander Legends, Commander Legends 2, and Commander Masters were all draftable, which had draft set and collector boosters. For Commander Masters were all draftable Commander sets.
Okay.
Where you would draft a Commander, and then you draft its cards for it.
100 cards? Like
I think it was 40. I think it was still like 40 to 60. But it was still a singleton Commander format.
I don't. How have you ever done it?
Yeah. It's great.
Is it?
It's great. We've been too negative on this episode. Drafting Commanders actually so much fun.
I'd be willing to try that. It seems interesting. Okay, now, what about we're getting a little off topic here, but like, what about like Brawl and all that other stuff? Because they were trying to like make. You have no idea?
I have no idea. I'm not even gonna comment on it. I don't think it's very popular.
Interesting, because I remember right before
I pushed for it at least.
Right before I quit, there was like Brawl was happening, and that was like WotC's like, okay guys, listen.
That's just standard Commander.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like you guys should do this. This is gonna be fun. And then then there was this other format where you can like, you could get like a personal spell and like.
Oathbreaker.
Yeah, Oathbreaker. And Oathbreaker.
Those two.
Yeah, I was like, this is a ridiculous format. This is like, hey, Legacy players, here you go.
Right. That was them trying to do standard Commander and Legacy Commander.
Yeah.
No, but it was
What the heck?
Yeah. No, they just decided we're just going to push towards Commander. We're not going to try to make our own Commander. We're just going to partner with the rules committee and go, you know what? This format's working. We're going to shove it down people's throats.
So I think just to loop it back to the booster thing.
Yeah.
I think
draft boosters don't need to exist unless they're Commander sets at this point.
Yeah.
Which isn't completely true, but I'm making a hyperbole about it.
In a lot of sense, it is true. Because like I can't really think of a reason to go and draft because I don't play Standard anymore. Mm-hmm. And from what you've said, like FNM has kind of dwindled, if not disappeared. And now, like Adam and Anthony, when we were talking about it weeks ago, they're like, oh yeah, FNM now is just you go play Commander. You go play CDH.
Mm-hmm.
That's what FNM is. So, like, I'm curious to see what Modern looks like. I'm curious to see...
Modern might as well be just Modern Horizons 2 Limited.
Oh, things have changed. Things have changed. I mean, to everybody listening, I'd really love to know your guys' thoughts on like Standard as a whole, outside of Arena.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we have a lot of listeners that probably play Arena, especially since like
I play Arena for Limited.
Oh, I think I would, especially now that I don't have options. I think I only can draft on Arena. I would really love to know. Do you guys play Standard in person at all? And if you do. Where? Because I would love to see it. Sorry. Where? Because I'd love to see it. And if not...
Because we will show up.
Yeah.
Oh, you draft Arena in Arkansas? Yeah, we'll be there. You draft Standard in Arkansas, we'll be there.
But yeah, or even if you guys have like local draft nights or if like stuff like that, I have not seen it since I've been back. And just as a player... that I used to draft so much. I know I'm beating a dead horse. I used to draft so much.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't find 5 other people to go draft, that just makes me very sad as a former drafter from the block era and block constructed. And that's a whole other conversation too. Do you think that it's shifting away from blocks to now the cadence of sets is like so often, and with this new way of doing packs, do you think that has done anything else to like kind of dwindle this whole...
I think it's caused a lot of fatigue and anger, and instead of Because we're jumping around so much, I feel like in terms of set to set to set to set, it's, and then also just jumping Project Booster Fun on this, all these showcase variants, all these different versions of everything, and a different showcase for every set. A different showcase for every set would make more sense if we were still doing one block a year and it was one showcase a year.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's it's 3 or 4 different showcases a year, and then you also have different versions of foiling for all these supplementary sets like Commander Legends and like the new core set Adventures of the Forgotten Realms and all of this. Because you're jumping around so much and also adding to each set has just caused an overwhelming amount of variance, and it's tiring. It's exhausting. It's almost like if you kept the block format but did Project Booster Fun, that'd still be a lot. But because they have shifted away from that and then dumped this on top of it, it's like Magic's like in its Funko Pop phase. The artists that do these, I applaud you, because these cards look beautiful. But how come you're trying to make every single card so special? By doing that, every single card doesn't feel special at all.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because before, when I think back to Innistrad, right? Imagine if every card in the original Innistrad block was a flip card.
Mm-hmm.
It would diminish the entirety of like the flip mechanic in general in that block.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, when you opened a pack,
right,
and you saw your flip card, you were either super happy or super bummed, because not every flip card was good,
mm-hmm,
but some were really good, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like now
the philosophy is just, why don't we just give this to everybody?
Yeah, now it's like
do you remember when the newest card type, other than like the second newest card type was ignoring tribal. That's
sure.
Ignoring tribal. But the second newest card type was introduced, Planeswalkers, in Lorwyn.
Yep.
Did you get a Planeswalker in every pack?
No.
No.
You might not even get one in a box.
Right. And so that was cool.
Yeah, it was.
So when you opened a Planeswalker in the one type of loot booster pack, I mean, that was a celebration. You've seen, in Commander games and stuff, you've seen battles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Battles.
They're interesting, in theory.
In theory, yeah. Well, the mechanics of it is just, but it's a new card type, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
You get a battle in every pack.
Oh, period now.
Period. Draft, set, collector, you get a battle in every pack.
Are they like rare?
In March of the Machine.
Do they vary in rarity? Sorry.
They do. But because you get a battle in every pack, it's almost like a whole bonus sheet. Just for the battles.
Oh, interesting.
So even the mythic ones are pretty frequent, since you get one in every single one.
Did we talk about bonus sheets?
We did not.
What's a bonus sheet?
We talked about it for a second because the Transformers was kind of a bonus sheet, although there was a separate bonus sheet in...
Oh, Lord have mercy. So they have like literally like made like a pizza of basically like you get a slice of this, a slice of this, a slice of this,
yeah,
and then like whatever's left in the box, like that's just the commons and garbage.
Sure. Okay, so a bonus sheet would be like, you remember drafting like Alara or something, or you remember drafting Khans?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Imagine if you just randomly got a commander staple in every Khans pack, but you couldn't play it in limited.
I'd be really.
So you just had to set it off to the side.
So I open a pack and there is a card
that
is not legal in standard or in limited. Can I play it in my draft deck or no?
Sorry, it is legal in limited, but it's not legal in standard. But it's a commander staple that doesn't have anything to do with the limited format.
I feel like that that's not good for limited. because like that's like when you draft like Theros block limited, right? And you do a pack of Theros, a pack of Born of the Gods, and a pack of Journey in the Nyx.
Mm-hmm.
Those packs are balanced to be drafted together, and they balance one another.
Yeah.
Adding a Beast Within or a Swords to Plowshares or a Path to Exile, or I'm just thinking of removal, because like removal in Commander is just broken like most of the time. It's just like very efficient, right?
Yeah, sure.
And whereas like removal in like a standard set block back in the day,
It's just okay.
was just okay.
It's
like
pretty good.
There was a Murder, there was a Hero's Downfall. It was like, this is good enough. Like I wouldn't say no to it. I'd take the card.
Yeah, of them.
But now that if I open a pack and there's a Beast Within in my pack, or there's a Swords, like, yeah, of course I'm taking that,
So in Multiverse, I keep saying Multiverse Legends. Multiverse Legends was a bonus sheet within March of the Machine. So not only was March of the Machine one of the biggest Magic sets of all time, it also had a separate bonus sheet that had just random legendary creatures throughout Magic's history. And they're trying to push it as everybody, and each one of them were in a different showcase frame from the set that they came from.
Showcase frame, okay.
Okay.
Meaning like...
So like Ragavan was a masterpiece frame.
Okay.
Okay. Got it?
I do.
Okay.
Oh.
Lock that information in, because I'm moving on.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So obviously legendary creature, what do you think of?
Which one would I think of?
Like when I say legendary creature, what format do you think of?
I think of Commander.
Sure. So they're giving in this new set, in this new draftable set, in every draft pack and everything, they're giving you a commander in every pack.
Oh yeah, so they're pretty much just like straight rubbing it in your face. Like, you should, like, don't worry about this, man. You should play Commander.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also it did not have anything to do with you could use them in some of them had like overlap with limited mechanics, but like if you pulled a Ragavan in a limited format, right? Like, why would you not? That is such a bomb out of nowhere that has nothing to do with the set.
What's Ragavan? I don't know what he does.
Oh, that's right. That's a Modern Horizons 2 thing, isn't it?
Oh, is it? What does it do?
You want me to read it off to you?
You sure?
Okay. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. 1 mana for a 2/1. Whenever Ragavan he's a monkey pirate. He's also a legendary creature. And he's a tiny little pirate guy.
Okay.
Here's his Multiverse Legends version. Okay?
Oh, it's straight up the masterpiece.
It's straight up the masterpiece.
Does he always come in foil like they did back in the day, or no?
No. You can have it either foil or non-foil.
Oh, I don't like that.
Okay, so 1 mana for 2/1. Whenever Ragavan Nimble Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you can cast that card. He also can dash for 1 and a red.
What's dash?
Dash is you can cast a spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and it's returned to your hand at the end step.
Is this like a modern staple?
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, wow. So, do you know the card Goblin Guide? That card's better than Goblin Guide. And Goblin Guide was really good.
Yeah, so Ragavan is like peak 1 mana creature.
So it gives you a treasure token.
Yeah.
And it also basically draws you a card.
Mm-hmm. Temporarily.
So
it's 1 mana, and every turn it gives you a treasure token and draws you a card.
In Modern, this is broken.
And people run
everything.
Even though it's legendary, people run multiples to make sure they have it turn 1.
Well, of course, yeah. You need to run 4-0 because you need to have it in your opener. If you don't have it in your opener, like, your deck is like percentage worse. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it can dash and just come out of nowhere too.
Because, like, I think the ridiculous part, so even exiling the top card of your deck.
Even if you don't play the idea is that it's supposed to be fun and you play the other person's cards. Because it's a treasure token, right?
Right, you can play whatever. You can play.
But really, you're just mana fix. Like, you could just not even care about the card draw. You're just mana. It's just a Lotus Cobra for 1 mana.
That is insane.
But it gives you a temporary or a treasure token instead of just a temporary little mana boost.
Oh, this card in Burn is nasty.
Yeah.
If Burn even exists anymore.
Yeah, that's why we play Pioneer and not Modern.
Is he legal in Pioneer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, anyway, get back on topic. Does all of this need to exist?
No, is the short answer.
Okay.
I really don't. I really do not think that back in the day things were wrong. I don't think that. I don't think the philosophy of like.
The only difference is they couldn't sell you a pack for $25.
I don't want to say that it's like it feels a little predatory to me. Like,
Yeah.
toward the consumer. And I feel like they frame it in such a way to make it like, oh guys, every pack is fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You open a pack, you don't know what you're going to get. But we didn't know what we were going to get before either. So like, but before, at least when I pulled something good or fun or rare
You
or
only
chase,
you only spent so.
I didn't like literally like spend a quarter of my paycheck when I was working a minimum wage job, you know?
Right. So I guess we talked a little bit about it, but is it possible to fix this, to remedy this? Can we get rid of the showcase frames? Should we get rid of the showcase frames? Do we have to in order to remedy this?
I think that
There's also a big problem because game stores don't know what things are anymore. Because back in the day, it was foil and non-foil. I mean, you can teach your employee that, no problem. But nowadays, it's like 6 different variants of one card, and you're trying to teach your employees this, and then they sell the wrong card to the wrong person, and game stores have shut down because of this.
well, not only that, but those game stores
Because the amount of refunds and the amount of
Yeah.
training that people have to go through to even understand
and
what
it's
they're
not just
looking at.
Magic. It's not just Magic that those employees are selling.
Yeah.
They have Pokemon. They have Yu-Gi-Oh.
They have board games.
They have board games. I remember when the little stint I had in Force of Will, like
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of knowledge to have. Granted, I get it. You know, you're a card shop worker or a game store worker. You should know your stuff. I get it. This is like needlessly complicating the whole rarity and foil, non-foiling, and now I think you or Anthony was telling me like, when you guys opened that Wildsville Drain,
Mm-hmm.
like there's like a special edition foil, like that's
Yeah.
like not regular foil, but it's like a foiling specific to the block.
That happens in like every set now. There's also on top of a showcase frame, there's a foil specific to it, and it's not block, it's a set.
I'm not sure if I have an issue with that at all, but I do have an issue with the fact that there's so many different versions of specific cards.
Yeah. Of every card, really.
Is it that often?
Not the special
Showcase
foiling, but
yeah.
every card has a showcase version.
So I guess to answer your question,
Like even just garbage commons will have showcase versions.
well, I guess to answer your question, I would say I don't think this needs to exist.
My question is also, how much can this possibly cost them? Because they have to pay somebody separate for the borderless version art. They have to pay somebody
Separate artists, yeah.
a separate artist to design the showcase. I mean, I know they're a huge company, but like if they want to increase profit margins, what you're doing is you're paying more to make these cards in the first place, and you're also making people pissed off. So
Well, I guess that kind of loops back to what I was saying about it being predatory toward the consumer. I feel like it's like you dangle like a really nice product in front of their face and make it cost a lot, or the thing that they could buy, like it kind of almost feels like name brand versus like store brand to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can buy the store brand booster pack, or you can buy this nice name brand collector like thing.
yeah,
And like, yeah, this is good. This is serviceable, but everyone always talks about these, right? Like that's the way they market it. They always market like the collector stuff.
mm-hmm.
And like, I'm not sure how this is for their profit margins. To be honest with you, I feel like
It's got to be good.
I'm not positive, because I know that you said that you don't think Arena has anything to do with it. I think Arena does have a role to play. I'm not sure how many people play Arena. Granted, so like, I don't know the numbers behind that. I'm positive in my mind that during COVID those numbers skyrocketed, and I'm sure they've probably dwindled and maybe leveled out by now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I think this whole process was probably in response to that era of like when we were all closed in, and they're like, okay, well, like if you're gonna buy boosters, you might as well buy the most expensive ones to make sure that you're getting worth your money, like or rather your money's worth.
Yeah. I sort of want to wrap this up a little bit. I want to ask like the big question here. Will Magic die if this keeps going?
In-person Magic?
Can this get to the point where it's so bad that it even kills Commander in person?
I feel like because the aftermarket exists, no.
Okay.
I think that what might
Opening packs might.
I think that might be a thing of the past. Like I don't think you're supposed to buy sealed product anymore. From like my impression of this, because it doesn't seem profitable for you, or even incentivized for somebody that is like we're the college kid working minimum wage that plays like F&M on the weekend, if there was an F&M to go to. Like, that kid's not making a lot of money on the packs that he's getting. He's not getting his investment back, because if he's buying just a set booster, I mean, yeah, you might hit some cards that you need, but you probably won't.
Some people are very happy about all of this because it's making all these game pieces very, very cheap. And my question would be like, well, then that's okay to have that opinion, sure. But then why would you ever buy a booster pack? And are we upset that booster packs would be a thing of the past? Are you?
Yeah, to be honest with you.
I mean, the more people subscribe to that, though, the less packs get open and the more things are worth. So it's all a give and take. And to the audience member who's like, well, what about commander decks? And what about collector sample packs? And what about this and that? I know there's a lot more thing. We can't go into every single thing here, but it's all a factor. It's all just an overwhelming factor for all of this.
Yeah, as somebody that came from the old way, I think that this is definitely pushing us in a direction where we don't buy sealed anymore. I don't even know if you pre-release anymore, because things are probably so cheap. Even like the weird rare variants of cards like have dropped the price of like a rare, like you buy a rare showcase, whatever the adjective is. I'm sure the price of that, because it comes in like 5 different flavors, you can find the cheapest one, and so accessibility is better. So I don't think the game will die necessarily. Yeah. But I think sealed and limited is probably a thing of the past, because I think that
it'd be hard to retrain people to be like it used to be.
Well, not only that, but I think it's really difficult to get somebody that is, like I said, that college kid that wants to play F&M every weekend to be like, oh, okay, my incentive is I get packs. Like, that kid doesn't want packs.
Right. That kid only wants collector packs, maybe.
Or store credit so he can like cash in on a single in the case.
Right.
So
what?
So right, why do the boosters even exist then? Why are we even doing it then?
Because it's the only way you can get products, but not really, because Secret Lair.
Yeah, I feel like almost like
88 Secret Lairs, I think, in 2022, and most of them are
88.
88 Secret Lairs in 2022, and most of them are Commander staples.
And Secret Lairs are the things that replaced from the vault.
From the vault used to have one a year. There's 88 last year.
Wow.
Yeah. It's direct to consumer, you know what you're getting. But not really, because there's always a random bonus card.
Oh, so they still put like chase cards
They still put randomness in it, yeah. But you at least know what most of it is.
Yeah, I would almost say that.
I don't even hate that.
I don't think that's bad necessarily.
I think the frequency is kind of too high, but it's not bad necessarily, but it is kind of like, again, back with the tinfoil hat, it's kind of like, what, do they just want you to buy singles? Do they even care about their own packs anymore? When they probably make way more off of Secret Lairs.
Yeah,
because all they have to do is print four or five different cards, a huge, massive sheet of them, and sell those specific 4 cards to people. That can't be as expensive as randomly seeding packs.
Could you imagine a world where they keep the like all those like weird variants and rarities and foiling and whatever in those collector boosters, and they sunsetted completely the set and the draft boosters, and they said, guys, if you want any card, you can order it directly from us for whatever, and then they make like the collector booster like an absurd amount to get like the chase version of the cards, or maybe they change. I don't know.
You're talking about like Fahrenheit 451. Like,
oh yeah,
like dystopian reality.
Oh yeah, because I feel like in this point, like there's no. I was talking to an LGS just the other day, and they go, we didn't open any of that set because there was no incentive for us to open any of that set.
Yeah.
So like we're just gonna take in, we're gonna sell these packs to the consumers, and 9 times out of 10. The kid that opens the pack, he's going to take the most expensive card in the pack and leave the rest on the table. It happens all the time because he's chasing the one card. He's not chasing the 2 penny commons that like, because he doesn't play standard anymore. Apparently, he plays commander, and that's it. So you can't kill Magic, but we might see even bigger changes if this doesn't shift. I think that's the vibe that I'm getting.
Yeah, we might even keep seeing like more and more direct-to-consumer changes.
Yeah, I mean, even so,
maybe not all of that right away. Definitely not all of that right away. I don't think booster packs are going anywhere anytime soon. But I think that shifting away and short printing those and maybe printing more secret layers that have to do with the set or something like that, we could see more of, for sure. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. I really want to know the audience's impression on all
definitely.
this.
Definitely leave us a comment below and see, like, what do you think, guys? Because I'm kind of in this loop now that I'm just like...
Everybody is. There's no answer to this.
I think that there's no going backwards. Mm-hmm. I think this is only going to get worse. And worse is relative.
Yeah, worse is relative. Yeah. Again, you could love all these showcases,
Yeah.
and I love all the different whatever.
That's
worse
great.
is relative. It could go further. That's a better way of putting it.
It definitely could go further. And I think we might get to the point where, again, dystopian world mindset, I think we get rid of the set booster completely, and instead of there being like this small, like I see them on the shelf there, this small little collector booster of like 6 packs or whatever, it's a full-on box, and that it like either you buy your draft or you buy your collector, and that's it.
I don't know. Do you still enjoy Magic?
Well, now that I'm back, I do think it's the game. It's still the same game.
Still the same game, but it's just different, like, look.
I guess first and foremost, I'll say
paint job.
I'll answer yes.
Okay.
I do still enjoy Magic.
Are you more negative or more positive on it? I'd have to say I'm still more positive on it.
I think I'm cautiously optimistic about things. I'm happy that I come back and there's a lot more things that are going on, a lot more mechanics there seems to be. Like, battles are very unique, whether or not they're good, whatever. But that's like some of the newer stuff that I've experienced. There's like battles is one of them. I like that there's like a higher frequency of cadence in terms of mechanics, but also I'm kind of scared of that because I came from an era where like we played a whole block of this mechanic, a whole block of this mechanic, and that was like a whole year.
Yeah.
So I guess in short, I'll say
we can be cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously optimistic,
okay.
And that's it.
Okay, guys, I want to wrap this up. We can go on for hours, but I wanted to thank our patrons, especially Professor Turtle Dude. You'll be getting your pack opened any day now here. You probably already have it open by the time this one goes live. If you want to support us, you can do 2 different things to support us financially. You can either go to the Patreon and enter our MTG Pack of the Month. You can also just do the lowest tier, which is the $5 tier, just to throw us a little bone. Tell us that you love us. Give us a little kiss on the metaphorical cheek. But you can also be a part of the community without financially supporting us by entering the Discord. You can also comment down below. This will be on YouTube and on all places where you can find a podcast. So if you're listening on YouTube and want to instead listen in the background in your car, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that, it'll be up on. So I just wanted to thank everybody. And Christos, you want to say anything else to everybody? Keep enjoying opening packs for now?
You know, don't let anything I say discourage you from opening packs.
We still love Magic.
Yeah, still love Magic. This is just a journey, man. But thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.